Hi everyone and welcome to another recipe video. And today I'm showing you how to make these really easy matcha mousse pots. Putting them together literally only takes a few minutes, although you will need a few hours to let them set, but that's barely any work at all. And I'm using a relatively new matcha whisk here because my old one of about 9 years has finally given up the ghost. You can see bits have snapped off because it's really old and brittle. I make matcha a lot. So yep, my new one is starting to form its new shape. And hopefully with a little more use it will even out and level out a bit more. Anyway, let's get started. First you're going to take 2 tablespoons of water and you're going to sprinkle in 1 teaspoonful of gelatin powder. And we're going to leave this for a couple of minutes to soak in. As you can see, I'm trying to sprinkle the powder over really evenly over the water, and that will help stop lumps and make sure the gelatin absorbs the water evenly. Otherwise you might get one tough lump in the middle that hasn't absorbed any water and won't dissolve at all later on. And you don't want any lumps in your mousse. Now set that aside for a couple of minutes. Now we're going to whisk up the matcha. So I'm taking 1 quite generous teaspoon here, and I'm going to whisk in 80 millilitres of milk. Now there are a number of ways you can whisk matcha. Some baristas use those little electric whisks, some people shake it. I always use the bamboo whisk because I've never had problems with lumps before, and it's always been reliable. So once you whisk it up and there are no more matcha lumps left, you're going to transfer it into a little saucepan and you heat it until it's just about steaming. Once it's steaming, switch the heat off. You do not want to boil it, and then you want to add in your soaked gelatin. And you can see here it's absorbed all that water and become one large gloopy mass, which is just what you want. So dump all of that in. And the reason why you don't want it too hot is because you don't want to denature those proteins, which will stop it from setting. So just hot until steaming is enough. Give it a stir until you can see all of that gelatin is completely dissolved and you just have the smooth matcha milk. And now we're just going to set that aside to cool down to room temperature. In the meantime, I'm taking 2 egg whites, and these are pasteurised ones, which you can buy from a carton in the supermarket, and that avoids any potential bacteria in there if you're worried. And we're going to whisk it until it forms stiff white peaks, just like a meringue. I think it's a bit of a shame that the UK doesn't really sell whole pasteurised eggs. I wish it were more like Japan where all the eggs sold are already washed and pasteurised. That would make life so much easier. Anyway, as you can see, we form those stiff white peaks. When I shake the bowl around, the egg white isn't going anywhere. And now I'm adding in 35 grams of caster sugar. And I'm just going to whisk that in until it's nice and glossy. And we're not actually going to cook these egg whites, which is why you may prefer to use pasteurised egg whites, because then that greatly reduces your chances of getting any nasty bugs. Right, now that's done, we're going to whisk up 150 millilitres of double cream. And we're going to do it just until it's sort of a whippable texture like this. And for some reason it took literally seconds for me. This never happens to me. See, it's already done, perfect. And you certainly don't want to go past this point, because remember, the more you mix this cream now, the thicker it will continue to get, and you don't want to end up with butter. So just this soft, spoonable texture is absolutely perfect. And now we're ready to mix everything together. So our matcha should be cooled to room temperature by now. And we're going to combine that with our egg whites, and we're going to be very gentle, using careful folding motions because we don't want to get rid of all that lovely air we've just created in our egg whites. And fold it until it's literally just done. I'm using a balloon whisk here because I find it just that little bit faster because you've got all those extra spokes helping to mix it. But you could be extra cautious and use a spatula or a metal spoon, which is more traditional. But if you're a little more experienced, then a balloon whisk does absolutely fine. Now usually I do a hyperlapse for this kind of thing at this point of the video, but I just wanted to show you how quickly these two combined. See, this is completely done, and you want to stop folding here. Now we want to fold the cream in, and I am going to hyperlapse this now because we're using the exact same technique only with the cream. And we're going to use the same folding technique until everything is completely smooth, and then we're going to stop as soon as it is, because again, we don't want to beat too much air out of this. This is a mousse, not a pudding. And we want to have that nice bubbly texture at the end when it's all set. And this is pretty much done. All you have to do now is divide it between 4 little pots. And I'm going to pour it into a pouring jug because that will make my life much easier for this next bit. This will make you 4 servings, and I've got 4 glass ramekins right here, which used to be yogurt pots. I tried so hard not to keep all the ramekins I collect from yogurts and creme brulees and stuff that I buy. I try to recycle them, but I always end up with way too many in my cupboard. But they are really handy when you wash them out to reuse for things like this. Anyway, all that's left to do is to chill these for a minimum of 4 hours, but preferably overnight to give it that perfect bouncy texture. And the next day you're pretty much done. As you can see, they're completely set, they're not going anywhere when I tilt the glasses, and they're ready to go. You can enjoy them very happily as they are, but I like to go a step further. Here I'm spooning on some clotted cream because I was feeling particularly luxurious. Whipped cream or double cream also works as long as you whip up that double cream so it's thick, but this just gives a more interesting texture. And of course I couldn't resist dusting more matcha over the top because there's no such thing as too much matcha in my opinion. And then as you can see, I made a little bit of a mess, so I'm just going to take my time cleaning these up here, because remember I'm going to be serving these to people and I don't want them to get green fingers when they're eating my nice matcha mousses. Don't you just hate that at restaurants where there's sauce all over the sides of the plates and any angle you grab it you end up getting saucy fingers? Ice cream would also be great for the top, but you'd have to work a little bit more quickly than I am here, obviously because the ice cream would start to melt. But a mild vanilla or white chocolate ice cream would be great. Now I'm adding some strawberries because I feel like no dessert is complete without a little fruit topping. At least no dessert that I'm also aiming to put on Instagram isn't complete without a little fruit topping. It's all about the colour. But strawberries and raspberries do work genuinely well with matcha. And finally I'm being that little bit extra and I'm putting some edible flowers on, and these are violas. And that's it, you're pretty much done. These matcha mousse pots go amazingly well with the langues biscuits I made last week, which are also matcha. I'll put a link to the recipe up above and down below so you can see. But those biscuits make excellent dipping spoons. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video and I hope you'll join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full recipe on my blog tashcakes.com and find me on Instagram as tashcakestastes. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more. Give this video a like if you liked it to help other people find it. Comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular, and I'll see you guys later. Be good, be nice, and have a good week.